You're welcome to Business Daily on Trust TV. I am your host, Chamun Dabeng. Let's talk numbers. Let's see what the market says this morning. You're welcome back. Once again, my name is Chamun Dabeng. Well, at this point, most of us are very much aware of the Nigerian government's plan to remove fuel subsidy by June of 2022. Now, according to an advice given by the International Monetary Fund, fuel subsidy has to be removed in order to free up trillions of naira in funds. Subsidy is to be replaced by a transport palliative of 5,000 naira, which is to be given to the poorer Nigerians, which is about 40% of our population. Now, this palliative will cost the government about 2.8 trillion naira, more than double what is originally spent for subsidy on a monthly basis. Now, joining me in the studio is political economist and development researcher Adefolari Olamileko. You're welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Now, just to update you guys, there is a report that just recently came out by the World Bank, and they're saying that fuel subsidy removal will cause a 2.5% increase in inflation. Now, what do you think about this?
Majorly, they have said the right thing, because even without with them, World Bank coming out with a 2.5% inflation increase, we already know that that's what will degenerate. You remember when the fuel was reduced in 2020 due to pandemic issue, it was reduced from 165 to 155, then 140, then later it was brought back. We can look at the trend of increase in commodities, goods and services in Nigeria, especially transport, especially food consumption and the rest of it. So they bring it about the 2.5% will be added to the 15.99 that we already had in September. So going forward is for Nigerians to be looking at, why is it that the government find it difficult to build refineries? Why is it very difficult for the government to find a way around the subsidy issue? We know they have been giving us excuses that, okay, if they remove subsidy or if they don't remove subsidy, there are corruption around the subsidy issues, which we are already grasped with it right from 2010. But the issue right now is this for Nigeria and for the Nigerian government. How can we address the lopsidedness in this particular subsidy issue? And let me say it for the record, subsidy is good. Only that in Nigerian case, the administrative aspect of it is what is the challenge. In other Western countries, developing countries, they give subsidies to their citizens. So how come that it's very difficult for Nigerian government to give?
Well, they do give subsidies to their citizens, but apparently Nigeria is the only country that has subsidy on PMS.
Reason, PMS, as we see it, currently, do we really produce PMS in Nigeria? That is the big question. We have 4 refineries that are not working. Now we are building modular refinery all over the countries. What can we do to enhance local capacity in building refineries and producing fuel for us? I don't see any reason why Nigeria cannot buy fuel for 150 or even 100 naira per litre, because it's our God-given resources. But the issue is this, because fuel now could now become an international derived marketing strategy for oil companies, for oil producing nations to make money from it. So that's why it is priced at dollar. Now, what can the local countries, countries that are even having the resources do to make sure that they produce this fuel at their own rate and give to their citizens at the price that are more affordable to them? It goes to technology. We have the technology to do it. And majorly, most of the things that have become issues about energy cost is the technology innovation that goes with it. How to produce it, how to get it from the ground, and how to make it refined for people to use. Does Nigeria have the technology? We don't have it. And those are the things that have been bringing the cost on fuel production. But what can we do as a nation? Other countries, developing countries, are finding easy way to get this thing done. Apart from the international market that will only correspond shock on price of fuel and price of crude, can we have a homegrown technology to help us to bring out this fuel from the ground and develop it, refine it, and give it to our people? And that is the best way to go. But as long as we continue to rely on foreign technology to develop our fuel and to import it, it becomes an issue. And that's why that inflation will continue to be there. Not just IMF telling us, but we ourselves already know that this will happen if the government remove subsidy from fuel.
All right, so let's take a look at rates of inflation here. In October 20th, it was 4.23%, sorry, 14.23%. And then as of October 2021, it was 15.99%. Yes, like you said. And then also Nigeria's inflation rate for the month of October 2021 dropped further to 15.99%, recorded in September 2021. Now, this is according to an NBS statistics. That's the Consumer Price Index report, which was, like I said, released by the National Bureau of Statistics. So on a month-on-month basis, the CPI increased by 0.98% in October 2021, a decline compared to 1.15% increase recorded in the previous month. Now, Nigeria's inflation rate has continued to decline in the past 7 months after hitting a peak of 18.71% in March of 2021. So we've already had a decline. Exactly. We're already, working towards reducing a lot of the consumer price index rates, which are extremely high. And then now we're going to be pushed back to another 17 point or maybe 18%.
18. We are looking at 18%.
18%, exactly. Which was in March. That was the highest that we had in March. So we're basically taking steps backward rather than forward. Now, looking at this and, looking at the Nigerian economy itself, do you really think that we can handle this? Is it really the right time? Is the country prepared to actually take on this subsidy removal?
It's going to be very difficult. Very, very difficult. And one of the things the government have not realized is that if they remove it, all the intervention they have been doing since 2020 is going to reverse the gains of it, especially for SMEs. I think the article over the weekend for Blueprint, which talk about the impact of this subsidy removal on SMEs, it's going to reverse the gains because a lot of trillions of naira have been put into the SMEs for them to be able to revamp their economy, revamp their business and do more business. But with the removal of subsidy now, what will happen to them? They will be spending more on operational costs. Even our overhead costs have to increase. Although we know that sometimes overhead costs doesn't come as fast as operational costs normally do. But with this, it will bring about hardship on SMEs. What about big companies that are even trying to have been around for a long time?
We can barely avoid a discussion of the manufacturing sector itself that has also been struggling.
Definitely, it will going to affect them, and it's going to cross across broad. All companies, all organizations doing one business or the other, it's going to affect them because fuel, as it is in Nigeria, has become the engine room that propels our economy. Because that is the only thing we believe. That is the only thing we hold on to. That is the monocultural things that bring revenue to the government, and that's what the whole economy is tied to. So the issue is how can we untie our economy from fuel? How can we untie our economy that anytime we remove subsidy from fuel, it doesn't have any effect on us? And that boils down to what the government needs to do. So for me, I've identified three things. One, if you remove it, it's going to affect the SMEs businesses, all the small businesses that have been putting money, that CBN has been pumping money to, not just businesses. It's going to affect the agricultural sector. It's going to affect the fintech, the financial sector also. It's going to affect the transport sector. Even the railway they are building, they are constructing. It's going to affect that sector also, and majorly transportation. They are thinking of giving 5,000 naira to poor Nigerians. What criteria are they going to even use to get
identify those people?
Because they already 2.5 million they are giving 5,000 naira to. We don't know who they are. We don't know how they arrive at that point. But on this particular issue, it's a problem that cut across all Nigerian sectors.
Now, they're talking about the poorer Nigerians. Of course, they do exist. Like I said, it's about 40% of our population. Now, what happens to the people who are currently sitting in places like the middle class or even like upper middle class? What now happens to them? Will they be now pushed down the line? Because still, according to the World Bank, 6 more million Nigerians are supposed to be pushed into poverty because of the inflation rate that happened earlier this year and also to the middle of this year. So it's supposed to push 6 million more to the number that we already have. So who are these 6 million that are being pushed further into poverty?
They are already there. They are already been with us for a long time. I remember the president promised that APC government want to bring about 10 million, 100 million Nigerians out of poverty. How would they be able to gain that when they are bringing up harsh economic policy? One thing I would like us to stress most about this subsidy is this. For me, how can we really work on it so that Nigerians can benefit greatly from it? What are the things that we can do? Because as we depend so much on that fuel for our livelihood and for our transportation and every engineering of our economy, how can the government, because if it's a thinking development state government, they know what to do, and not that they don't even know what to do, but because of their penchant for loans. If you know the genesis of this remove subsidy or don't remove subsidy, it's around IMF supporting the Nigerian economy with money. And one of the stringent conditions they normally bring it about is the money issue. I mean, the subsidy removal. They talk about electricity, they not talk about the subsidy in fuel. You know, the subsidy in fuel is more hard on Nigeria. And Nigerian government over the years, not just the present government, over the years have not been able to rethink out of the box and be able to bring out policies that can help them so that they can reduce this hardship on the Nigerian people. But for us, political economists generally, who believe in developmental state policy, Nigerian government have to rethink, go back to the drawing board and see what they can do about this fuel issue. Can we produce locally? Because we are so much dependent on import. What is it that the government is benefiting from importing fuel? What is it that is making the government to believe in much in modular refinery than building a total graded refinery that can produce every other thing that we can get from crude oil? Because modular refinery can only give you fuel. What about the remaining particles in the crude? It will be lost out.
Yeah.
So what has happened to the four refineries that have been revitalized, that have been saying they are going to for turnaround maintenance for over the years? Why can't they work on this? Okay, the 2.3 trillion naira they will be getting is spending on the poor Nigerians. What stopped them from building refinery?
Using those funds to build a refinery.
The Buhari government promised refinery to build new refineries. This is the sixth year.
But you see now, it's more like they're caught in between the devil and the blue sea at this point. Because if you say you want to remove subsidy removal, so in order for you to actually free up funds, now of course that would have gone towards building refineries and doing more research and improving on our technology. Of course that would give them the ability if they do remove fuel subsidy. But now the problem is the fact that they are bringing in the palliative, which is taking 2.8 trillion naira in order for them to actually achieve. So it's like, okay, fine, if you remove the subsidy, then what now happens to the poor Nigerians that they are actually talking about taking care of? What
they don't get is that they are quickly looking for immediate gains. Let's look at long-term gains. Buhari will live in the next 18 months. What can he do to become a legacy for him? Building, even with just one refinery that can refine to 10 million, that can bring about 10 million liters of fuel for Nigerians, out of the 15 million we consume again, would have become a legacy for him. But now he's going to reverse it. He doesn't have plans to build refinery. They are building modular refinery. And how many of those modular refineries they are even building? We can count it. There's one in Edo, there's one in Bayelsa, there's one in Rivers, there's one in Imo. Can they all serve the purpose of Nigeria? So for me, the government know what to do, but because they are not thinking right and they are not applying their policy in the right way. The best for them is to have built a refinery. Since 2015 they came in. They have their blueprint, the recovery growth plan, all incorporating how to build refinery and the rest of them. What stopped them from doing it? But there's something we need to understand. The nature of Nigerian state is very violent. The character of Nigerian state, it doesn't have serious impact. It doesn't have that serious commitment to the Nigerian citizen. The elite fraction of this country always benefit. They always think of themselves higher more than Nigerians. And that's what has happened. That's why they cannot build refinery. That's why they believe more in importation. And ask me, what are they gaining in importing fuel than building refinery? Many Nigerians need to ask them this question. What are they really gaining in importing fuel? Out of the other 6 commodities that you can find in crude oil, you only bring fuel in. What happened to the remaining 6 commodities? Now you now bring the fuel in, you pay in dollar to buy the fuel, you now bring the cost on Nigeria. Meanwhile, we have it abundant. What stopped the government from building refinery? The modular refinery, fine, we know is coming up, but how many of them can they build before this government expiration come to an end? Those are the issues we need to be asking them. And I believe many Nigerians are asking them this question: why can't we have a new refinery? Why are you trying to bribe Nigerians with 5,000 naira? It doesn't make
you see it as a bribery.
It's bribe. That's why it's an immediate gain. Let's look for long-term gain. The long-term gain is this: let us build what that is sustainable. 5,000 naira will not sustainable. I can bet you, after collecting that 5,000 naira, it will be like a mere 1,000 naira in the hands of the people, because inflation will wipe it off.
Yes.
That is what it means. So if you are giving somebody 5,000 naira for 6 months, will it sustainable? The new government that will come in, will they have that idea? Will they be able to support such idea? When they come and tell us that it's a scam, They can't give, there's no accountability or transparency about these 5,000 naira they are giving to Nigeria, because we know that as part of character of Nigerian state. When a particular government do a particular thing that is more beneficial, just like the Empower and the rest of the when PDP were in power, there was a particular policy they bring about trying to empower Nigeria. When this new government came, they say it's more or less like a scam. It doesn't go around. So this 5,000 naira also may not even go around, and Nigeria will see it as more or less like a waste of resources. But our address to the government is this: please, we need refineries. Build refineries. Let us produce our fuel locally so that we can consume it locally.
All right. So my next question is this: still within the World Bank reports, talking about the 2.5 increase possibility if fuel subsidy does take place. They gave an example of Bangladesh. When fuel subsidy was actually removed from them, the truck drivers that were there used that opportunity to raise the cost. And which is something that they are also afraid that could actually happen here. So it's more like the normal public transportation that we have the drivers who could actually use that as an opportunity to put up the prices to make more money. Now, do you see that as a possibility that could actually happen here?
I'll give you one simple example. I normally go to Kefi for my policy analysis on radio. I remember early this year we were entering from Massacre to Kefi is 115 naira. The moment the fuel was increased to 160. They jacked their transport to 200 naira. Currently, they have jacked it up to 250. And that's a clear example from Massacre to Kefi. Now, from Massacre to town here to a beggar is 300 naira. Now, currently, every Monday is 300 naira. And on Tuesday, they can collect 200. But I'm trying to give this example of how transporters can easily jack up their price. Then let's not talk about the market women and market men who are selling food items and the rest of them. What about people selling items like clothing and the rest of them? They begin to ink this on fuel. They will not tell you about dollar again. They will not tell you about importation. They will tell you, okay, the fuel has been increased. And that's why they are doing it. That's a clear example. So that's the example they are giving about Bangladesh. It can be replicated in Nigeria. And it will even be more worse if care is not taken.
Well, you see, that's the thing. It's always the question of what is the government putting in place in order to prevent these things from happening? What regulations are you actually making sure is available? And is it really possible to put that regulation on the price of transportation? Because, of course, when the price of fuel goes up, you're going to, as a driver, you have to think about the profit that you're making. So how much of a choice do they really have but to increase the price of transportation?
And the thing is this, when you talk about how much of the choice do they have, they are going to buy spare parts for their vehicle. They are not just buying fuel alone. So they have to consider all those aspects also. Then on the part of the government, what can the government do is what we should be looking at. I remember there was a time during the Jonathan period, there was what they call the palliative safety net. They brought about trying to support transportation, support all these national owners of transport companies and the rest of them, giving them money to go and buy a new vehicle and the rest of them. Those are easy way. But the problem with Nigeria, we abuse policies. If this 5,000 naira their government want to give now, they will still abuse it. It will now become something in a local parliament we call who know, or man no man issue. You understand that kind of thing. But what we are trying to look at, the long-term sustainable policy is better. We have all this policy with the government, but the problem is that the elite fraction in the society will not allow this to come to pass. That's why I made mention of why is it that the government feel more comfortable importing fuel than refining it down here. What is making them to feel more comfortable? Why is the NNPC is finding it more juicy to import fuel than making sure the refinery works? The engineer working in NNPC, why is it that they are more comfortable collecting their salaries and see that they only import fuel? All the workers in NNPC and oil company that are working for Nigerian government state, why is it that they find it more easy to see that the company they are working for, the government they are working for, importing fuel, and they see that idle in their offices and the refinery is not working? How do they feel? The labor union, Peng and they are members of this association that these workers belong. How do they feel? Their members are collecting salaries and they are not working in terms of refinery not working. How do they feel? So all these are the things we need to put to government and put to our citizens that are very close to power in this regard.
Well, when you speak about the NNPC, they are not the only ones who are actually worried about the fuel subsidy. We are not the only ones that are worried about it. Because even they came out to actually say that, if fuel subsidy removal actually takes place, then it will affect the ability to pay salaries. Definitely.
They know what they are saying. Because once it is removed, what will happen is that they have to reshuffle their staffs. Because as long as we are concerned in Nigeria, the NNPC engineering department, whatever that is working in refinery, they are docile. They are not doing anything. For how many years now they are not producing? Since we are not producing, that means it's either they are laid off or they are paid off. then the union must understand with Nigeria. That is how it is. Also, tactically, they are already saying in that regard that, okay, this is what will happen. To pay salary will be a difficult thing because whatever they're supposed to gain will now come to the federal government, and the safety net or palliative will now be what the government will be channeling the money to.
But then if they're going to have issues paying salaries for, the next couple of months or in 2022 because of the subsidy removal, then what happens to the other Nigerian people that are out there? How those ones, like you said, SMEs, how do they now pay salaries for their employees? Is it going to be a situation where they have to start dropping employers because they don't have enough money? And right now we're still struggling with unemployment rates. We're still struggling with issue of job creation. Is still something.
Exactly.
So what now happens in this scenario?
The first thing that happens to those kind of people is to close shop. All the SMEs will close shop. And those ones that ECBN have been able to put money into them as intervention fund, they will close shop. And the ECBN will not be able to recover its money back. So it's going to boomerang on the economy in terms of the monetary aspect and in terms of the physical aspect. But for these SMEs, definitely we are going to lose. The innovation these men and women have put into creativity, the federal government have find it worthy to support them, they will lose out. They will not see many people on the street. They will not be hearing stories. I was once a this, I was once a that. We will now have jobless people. You see shops, warehouse closed down. Then you see machinery getting wear out and there's no use for them because they know, apart from that, raw material will be very difficult to get. And those are the issues that will affect the SMEs in Nigeria. All
right. Unfortunately, we do have to round up now because we don't have enough time. But yes, I don't know, from your own perspective, let me just ask this one last question. Do you feel like the government is rushing to implement the subsidy removal?
They are rushing in the sense that they need something from IMF.
All right, so we have come to the end of our show for today, and I would like to thank my guests in the studio. Thank you so much, Mr. Adefolarin, for being a part of the show. And to all our viewers out there, thank you so much for watching. Please do well to follow us on our social media platforms. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Just look us up at TrustTV News. You definitely find us there. Come back again for more Business Daily. Once again, my name is Chamun Dabeng. Let's talk numbers.